Hi, this is Paul Kidd, president of V2G Energy, and I'd like to describe our electric vehicle grid integration project, an alternative fuel incentive grant project funded by the Pennsylvania DEP, which we've just completed. And for this part of the presentation, I'd like to focus on what we've done on regulation services for the utilities, what it is, our approach, what we accomplished, a bunch of numerical results, and some near-term opportunities made available by the availability of our software. And the basis of this is the fact that electric vehicles represent a massive new market for electric energy and a massive electric energy storage potential. The electric vehicles in the projected for the country can run the whole country for hours at a time. So there's a lot of storage there. And networking can integrate, manage, and monetize this storage capability to do useful things and earn revenue. We subcontracted with curtailment supplier Customized Energy Solutions to explore these opportunities as part of this study. And they produced a report on PJM market participation, the available market opportunities, the requirements for participating, general markets, energy markets, regulation markets, which are what we're really focusing on here, and quantification of the opportunity as, how much is this really worth? And for the regulation market, what it is a second-by-second ability to give or take power. PJM, the regional transmission operator, needs to keep the frequency constant, so they have to take or give a little bit of power from second to second to keep everything balanced and keep the frequency exactly 60 cycles. And batteries are ideal for this because they respond instantly. If you want power from a battery, you get it right now. If you want to dump power, you can dump it right now. And PJM has created the Reg D class for this and preferentially compensated it, recognizing the quality of battery storage. So there's an remunerative market already prepared if you can do what they want you to do. And another fortunate feature is you can use the meter built right into the EVSE for this. You don't have to have a special meter, which you do for demand response and some other things. So it's easy to respond from a hardware standpoint. And it's quite remunerative. It's worth something like $200,000 per year per megawatt bid and accepted. And this price has held up for many years, despite the increased amount of battery storage that there is. And it's compatible with EV charging because it's based on power, kilowatts, not energy. The Reg D is designed to be energy neutral. They take power, but they give you back an equal amount of power, and the intention is to keep the battery state of charge where it was. Our involvement in regulation technology started with an NSF project, actually back in 2013, on vehicle solar grid integration. And the concept there was to use underutilized assets, grid-tied inverters, which are idle at night, electric vehicle batteries, which are equally idle at night because people aren't driving, they're sleeping. And the thought was put the two together, generate some ancillary service revenue, and provide an incentive for solar power and electric vehicles. And we built this little test installation down in the Philadelphia Navy Yard and completed the project successfully in 2015. Demonstrated revenue grade frequency regulation response with a converted pickup truck. The vehicle utility was unimpaired. It worked fine. even while providing this regulation service. And we were awarded U.S. Patent 9566867 on this concept back in 2017, and another one on a cost-reduced version of it just recently. And we published a couple of papers in the IEEE on the concept and the operation. But there were a couple of problems with commercializing this idea. One is our hardware approach was kind of expensive. And another is that PJM rules forbid injection of power from storage. They reluctantly will accept power from a solar array, but they don't want it from batteries. So you're not supposed to send power back through the meter. And without doing that, the ancillary service revenue is pretty inadequate, particularly for the expensive hardware we had. For AFIG, we chose to combine major loads at a location and manage all of them to provide increased revenue, to sort of build up the revenue side. And also, we went to a much less costly near-term hardware approach to cut down the costs. And the near-term solution is frequency regulation by modulation rather than bidirectional flow. And the objective is seeking early commercialization. It's based on modulation of the AC power for EV charging, not bidirectional DC. So it's really V1G, not V2G. But it's applicable to any EV. You can do it with no special inverter or any other equipment. It's expendable to hot water heating. It's in that context, it's universally accepted as a utility practice. So it's something you can do right now. And the method that we chose to implement this for EVSEs, we opted for proportional control of each EVSE rather than on-off control of individuals in a network. You could get the equivalent of proportional control on a big network by turning off and turning on individuals, but we chose to control all of them in parallel. And it's based on the current limiting feature of the JuiceNet, which can control the current from each EVSE. And for each EVSE, we store the amount of power that it can generate at maximum and keep a minimum to keep the EVSE operating. And for the number of EVSEs expected to charge on a given night in a given territory, the capacity you can bid is half the difference around the midpoint between the max and the min. So that's the maximum that you can bid, and typically one would take a little safety feature and bid like 75% of that. And then when it comes to operating, next day you receive PJM demands via your curtailment supplier every 2 seconds to go up or down or stay the same. And we convert those PJM demands for plus or minus kilowatts around a midpoint into plus or minus amps around a midpoint for each connected EVSE. We send the signals to limit each EVSE to that current via the JuiceNet. Presumably they respond to the signals. They send back response to us in amps. We convert that back into kilowatts, and we send it back to the curtailment supplier. And we did a fairly extensive test program in which PJM specifies a complex performance test. Both to qualify you as a supplier, you have to be accurate enough to be worth bothering with, and to determine the level of payment. For example, if your score is 80%, okay, you're qualified as a supplier. That's a bit more than 75, but you'll only get 80% of whatever the bid price is for that number of kilowatts at that hour. So there's a big incentive to be accurate. And there are 3 measures: the accuracy with which you follow their demands, the delay between the demand and your compliance with it, and the precision with which your compliance replicates the demand profile. And early on, we used a test signal replicating regulation demands and created a software to measure the max demand from each EVSE and do all the calculations and aggregate it. And we tested it with the available EVSEs on our network. And here's an example of the results. The orange line is their signal to us. This is what they want. And the blue line is our response, the actual kilowatts that we were consuming in response to their demand. And you can see the match is pretty good. For that particular hour, relative to the 75% required, we had an accuracy of 92%, a delay of 100%, precision of 93.3, and a performance of 95.1. So we did very well with 3 vehicles online at that time. And then, as a final test, we were getting actual signals from CES, continuous PJM Reg D type signals. And we operated during the month of December 2018. And the results were used to evaluate technical feasibility and to estimate the revenue that we might be able to get. And the results looked like this. Again, and the orange line is what we were trying to duplicate. The blue line is what we did. And the results for that particular hour were accuracy 95.8, delay 99.7, precision 85.4, average score 93.6, and the power from the 3 vehicles that were on the line at the time was plus or minus 4.5 kilowatts. And CES were monitoring the other end of this thing and accumulating results for the month. And their figures were average accuracy 91, delay 99, precision 72, the average 87. It was comfortably above 75%. And the daily average revenue that we would have gotten in that month of December would have been $234 per megawatt per day, which is quite acceptable. And they published a summary report on this, which we have. And the conclusion is that frequency regulation with EVSEs is technically achievable right now. Their performance scores are acceptable. There's no interference with EV charging. We had no complaints from any of the people on our network that we were short charging them or the vehicles weren't getting enough charge or anything like that. Everybody was happy. There are no barriers to implementation. The utilities accept this. It's an accepted practice. We have copyrighted software available, and regulation services can provide a source of revenue for EVSE networks of adequate size, and the size in PJM is 100 kilowatts. So if you can accumulate 100 kilowatts of capacity, plus and minus, you can start earning money. For more information, contact me at the following address. Thanks very much.